Hi. In today's conversation, I'd like to talk about something called alignment. Alignment means how one thing lines up with another. And this is important because when someone asks you, tell me something about yourself, they don't really mean, tell me something about yourself. What they mean is, show me what you're made of, present all the components that make up your professional and outreach experiences, and I'm going to try and assemble that into a complete piece and check if that complete piece matches up with what's required for this specific job. So that's what it means. That's what tell me something about yourself means. Earlier on in my interviewing experience, when someone said, tell me something about yourself, I would follow the very naive approach of laying out everything that I had done, presenting what I thought was a collection of all the components that made up my experience, and I would leave them to do most of the work of putting it together. But I realized that I should be doing most of that work. So the effort switched. And this was a very important realization for me because when I began assembling my own story and my own experiences in the way that I wanted it to be, phone conversations lasted longer, interviews went better, and I would get more responses to emails where I was introducing myself as a competitive candidate for a medical writer role. To give you an example, I transitioned from a role which was mostly technical in nature and a little bit of writing involved to now a role which is mostly communication and also regulatory medical writing. So the question was, how do I align myself with the requirements of the job? So I was previously talking about the bulk of my experience in the technical field and adding the writing experience as an afterthought. So when I realized this interesting thing about alignment, the way I presented myself completely switched, which is I would present everything that I had done with reference to writing and communication first, and then mention the technical stuff as an afterthought. There is no rule that you need to talk about the bulk of your experience first. You can talk about what you're interested in first, and then talk about the bulk of your experience later. So that sequence also matters. The analogy that I like to use while describing this is getting furniture in a box which you need to assemble yourself versus getting furniture which is pre-assembled. My job in answering those questions was to pre-assemble my experiences as something which would be well aligned with what's required for the job. And doing so reduces effort for the person who's listening to me, the person on the other end who is opening up an email in the inbox or listening to my voice over the phone or even interviewing me. It lessens the effort for them tremendously. And this makes a big difference when you lessen the effort for someone. So think about it. Think about components that make up your professional experience and how you would build that up into something which would make you a competitive candidate for a medical writing role. Keeping in mind that if you lay out the components without doing the assembly yourself, how someone else assembles you may not be the way you would have assembled yourself. And that misalignment in assembly could be one of the reasons why you may not get a call back. And thinking back on my own journey, I think that anytime I didn't get a call back or I didn't get a positive response, it was because my story was misaligned. My story was being interpreted in a way which was very different from the way I wanted to present myself. So there you have it. Align your story, think about your components, and put it together yourself and present your story yourself.